Hello and welcome everybody to today's Thursday Live. I am Denise Armenio, certified body code practitioner, as well as certified quantum healing and bioresonance practitioner. And I use the Genius Biofeedback for, I don't know, 3.5 years and absolutely love it. And it is my utmost joy and pleasure to bring my knowledge to you about how to use the Genius and apply it to your everyday life and or practice. And I have with me, as always, Claire McIntyre, who is also helping out to help share her knowledge. If you have any questions in the chat, she will be there to help answer your questions with you. So if everybody can just mute themselves, I think you're all muted. Or maybe John, I'm just gonna mute you there. Okay, and let me just share my I'm not going to share the screen. John, I just muted you. I'm sorry. You were going to be you couldn't be a volunteer last week, or are you here to be a volunteer this week? You are. Okay. Just making sure. So I will unmute you. And if you just want to put into the chat your birth date, I can add that information privately for you. And I'm just looking at some of the messages in chat here. Linda is asking, can you please go over how to set the timer for the right frequencies? That's maybe you can do that in the chat, or that's I don't have the Rife app up to show you how to do that. Oh, and Claire answered that. Okay. And John, I have your information. So just let me add in John's information here so that it is private. Be right with you. Hold on. I know you can't see my Genius yet. Okay, so now I can share my screen. I am going to say one thing I always like to do before this screen, it asks for your full name, your birth date, and then it just asks for gender. When it asks for gender, the gender has nothing to do with the scan itself. It is actually there just to tell the Genius what graphics to show, whether it's, male anatomy or female anatomy. So in this day and age, I just want everybody to make sure that, when you are working with people, this is not how they identify. This is purely just to identify what graphics you're going to be looking at. When I did just set this up for you, John, I was eager to start sharing the screen and I forgot to adjust the gender on there. So apologies, there will be anatomy for the female, but I think we're all good. We're all clear with everything there. I just wanted to make you aware of that. So this is the page for the user records where you can take notes on the session. You can keep a running tab every week of the information. You just need to make sure that when you go into and you access the user records, that you go into the edit part, because the edit will allow you to make edits to this screen. If you just hit start new analysis, you won't be able, it like bypasses the screen. So just be sure on that. So what I would normally do is I put in the day of the session And then I would log in here what issues we were going to work with on that day. So John, are you unmuted? You can unmute yourself and then we can just work with some of your symptoms. So
Yes, good to go. So you want me to tell you some of my symptoms?
Yes. Most importantly, the ones I want to hear about would be um symptoms or pains or emotions that we could potentially see a measurable change in one session. If they're things like sleep or blood pressure, we may not be able to see a measurable change because you need to have more time to do it. So I would prefer to work with items that we might have the ability to see measurable change at the
I
end.
understand. The only, I mean, I don't really, I don't, I feel good, I feel healthy. I work as a licensed massage therapist, so I'm really focused on health.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anything, I guess allergies would probably be about the thing I deal with. Got weird skin stuff that appears and disappears and all kinds of, but
And do you
I
have
have.
any of those issues right now?
Oh yeah, they're ongoing. They're
Okay.
like I have psoriasis on like two elbows. I had it on two elbows and one knee. The knee cleared up, the elbows didn't. It waxes and wanes due to the time of the month and how much sun and how much vitamin D is being synthesized at the skin. If I spend a week at the beach, it gets better. That kind of deal.
Okay, understood. So today, how would you rate the psoriasis on your elbows and knees? And it may be different, so we may need two scores, but a 0 out of 10, 10 being severe, how would you rate it?
Oh, let's see. Well, it's a constant, so I'm guessing I'm going to say five.
For both or just your elbows?
Just the elbows. Yeah, they're both the same. So I would say five.
Okay, so 5 for both elbows and knees. Okay. And are there any other?
Yeah, I get these circular rings. If I didn't know better, I would say it was ringworm, but I know it's not. That type of thing that just appears, stays for a while, and then goes away. So, but right now I have one right on my
Okay.
K27, as I call it, right there.
Yep, I know exactly where it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
ring rash
Ring rash. That's a good term. Yeah.
on K27. So right on your collarbone.
Right. And that's pretty pronounced right now. I've had that for 15 years. And so but right now it's expressing itself. So I would say that's probably like a 7 or an 8 on a 10.
Okay, so let's put it at a 7.5, shall we?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Emotion,
Um
food?
yeah, I have varicosities on the right leg from the tibia down to the ankle. And They wax and wane also. But right now, I would say they're probably at about a 5 or 6 also.
Okay, so we can work with the psoriasis and the veins. There's, you mean that they're very noticeable on your legs from?
Yeah, they are noticeable. And like I said, they seem to be, they respond to lymphatics moving. Like if my lymph is moving nicely in the leg, then it doesn't seem to express itself much at all. It just remains calm. If the lymph is not moving well due to lack of circulation or overuse syndrome, like moving too much, then they get bulgy. And sometimes there's a little pain involved, but not too much pain, but definitely bulgy. And so that, like I said, waxes and wanes depending on what I'm doing or how much I'm resting.
Okay. All right, great. So let's work on those items and see if we can um, have any change in those. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take your voice imprint. So I will ask you to say your full name and repeat all the vowels, A-E-I-O-U, probably a couple of times because we want to fill 15 seconds worth of a recording here. So I will count you down. I'll say 3, 2, 1, begin, and then you can begin. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, begin.
John Patrick Hogan, A E I O U, 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 A E I O U.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we can, if you look down at the bottom left-hand corner, it says voice harmonics. I always recommend that people listen to this because this demonstrates and shows us how the genius has translated your spoken word into a frequency. And not only that, but that frequency also has healing benefits for you, similar to homeopathics, like cancels out like. So it is nice for you to listen to it. I am going to play that right now for you. Okay. So now we can just click next. Okay, I'm just getting ahead of myself. I just want to get your picture in my photos. 1 second here. I'm gonna hit continue. And now I'm just gonna click on the avatar and it will give me an opportunity to either take a picture if you are here or an existing photo, which is what we just did. And I can add your photo. There we are. If you wanted to edit it, you do have the ability to do that. It's not always necessary. I'm just showing you that you do have the ability to do it. And we can hit done then on the bottom. Now it asks us to begin analysis, so I will just click on that on the bottom. And we can hit continue again. Okay, so for everybody out there who is on this Zoom call or who is watching the replay, if you have the trial, you are using the same technology that I'm using. The only thing that you don't have at this moment is the banner for custom libraries, and that will pop up if you created a library or you purchased a library or another Genius user shared their library that they created with you. But otherwise, we are working with the same equipment. Now it's asking us for an energetic affirmation. This is optional. I do like to use it, but if you don't feel like adding an affirmation, you don't have to. I am going to select yes. Would you like me to use the affirmation that I like to use, or do you have one that you prefer?
Oh, no. I have an affirmation.
Okay.
Life is grand.
Okay. Whoops. GRA. Okay. And I'm going to hit okay. All right. So now I'm just going to hit begin analysis. The 3 top categories will be analyzed and placed in order of priority. Custom libraries will always show at the bottom. Okay, so here the Genius is telling you that your biofield is where you need to have do your work first, then the mind, then the body. And as I told you, custom libraries will always show on the bottom. Before I get into explaining the numbers and the colors, I just want to go to the biofield and click on aura, as this is how we get our aura picture. So I'm going to do that right now and hit begin analysis. Okay, so we can look at this. I find it easier to view the whole picture here by hiding the avatar. Okay, and so what we're looking for here are bright, vibrant colors. They are the colors that are represented are the 7 colors of the chakra. The brighter the color um, resonates with the positive attributes of that chakra. The darker the color would resonate more with the negative attributes on that color. So that just giving you some insights of, you know, what's going on. Also, in this view of the aura, you're going to see like layers, and that's showing us the different layers of the aura. There are at least 12 layers or known layers of the aura that we know. The one in the center deals mainly with our physical body, and then you guys can always look up and Google the different layers to show up on what the other ones are. But the more layers, the better. It just shows our dimensionality on how far out we go. We want the colors to be bright and crisp and vibrant. When they're muddy or dirty, it's a good indication of stagnant energy, interference, negative energy, and potentially some nefarious energies that have gotten in there. The bright colors, a great way to think of the brightness on the color is to think about like neon colors. So that would be letting in more light. Is the more light there's more light in your field. We can also switch to old, shows us the older version that the genius used when it was 1.0 of the aura. And we liked both versions so much that Ryan decided to keep them both in. The older version does show some different information. And we do like to see that all 4 corners are filled with color. That is observed and an indication that you are grounded and fully in your body. So that is a good thing. You do see that there are some bright colors coming in here. So that is also good coming in. It's actually coming in from your left, but since it's mirrored the way we look at it, energies are coming in when we look at the screen from right to left. So that looks good as well. So we will then just work and see how the energy changes and how your energy changes after we do some work with some frequencies for you. So the numbers and the colors, the genius uses a numerical value system that ranges from 0 to 777. And it is divided into 4 ranges. The lowest range is from 0 to 200, and that is represented by the color blue. And items in this range are observed to be chronic energetic disturbances, meaning that you've had these energetic disturbances for a longer period of time. They can also be referred to as stagnant energy, under energy, and also items in this blue range or low range are causing some kind of a crisis in your body. The next range goes from 201 to 450, and that is represented by the color green. Then we go to 451 to 600. That's represented by the color yellow. And lastly, the highest range goes from 601 to 777. That is represented by the color red. Items in this range are observed to be acute energetic disturbances, meaning that the disturbances are happening now in the present time. So it just started happening. Items also in this range could be referred to as heat or inflammation, over energy, and these items are more than likely causing some kind of a stress on your body at the current moment. The yellows and greens. So where do you want to be? Well, for any of those just starting out, I would just say the yellows and greens are your safe place, and gradually you may want to move towards working with them a little bit more. I like to keep a tight range. So for me, anything between 400 and 600 is within that like balanced range. It's never going to be perfectly balanced. So between 400 and 600 is what I work with. Anything outside of that is what I like to bring into balance a little bit more. So really for me, anything that's yellow would be okay. And some of the green at the top that borders the yellow, the ones between 4 and 450 on the green would be okay. Otherwise, I would work with the blues, greens, and the reds. And there are times when I work with all of the items, and I will show you that in just a moment. So I just want to mention that there are 3 different ways to balance. You can do a quick balance, and what that means is the genius will look at all the red and blue items on the screen that you're looking at, and it will select those and run the frequencies for those. So it's really easy, not much for you to do. Let the genius do all the work. All you need to do is set the timer here on the right on how much time you want to set it for, and it will run. So that's pretty easy. Then you have the quick zap tray up at the top. This little arrow opens it up if you want to see what you're putting in there. The timer for it is down here at the bottom. And that you can drag and drop any items that you would like to work on or work with and put that in the tray. And then when you're ready, you can just hit this play button. The final way to work with the frequencies is using the main hold tray. This is, in my opinion, the most powerful place to work with the items, and I do work here most of the time. The thing that makes working with items in the main hold tray really important is that when you add the items to the main hold tray, the genius runs algorithms that looks at the relationship of all the items in the main hold tray at that time. So instead of looking at one frequency and how it relates to your energy and whether it's balanced or not, it looks at several, and maybe when you have several together, they may become out of balance when they're together. Similar to if you were talking to somebody in a room, you were having a conversation and now 3 other people joined you, and now the energy of the conversation changes and maybe things aren't as great. So these are all probabilities, but it really gives us great insights and sometimes allows us to want to work with some of the yellows or the greens because they may not be yellow or green when they're in the company of other frequencies. Does that make sense? Okay, great. So I am going to now show you what my first step is, what my second step is, and what my third step is. So my first step is always working on trying to prime the body to make sure that not just the cells of our body, but our energy field or biofield are as healthy as it can be. Just like if we're building a house, we want to make sure that foundation is strong before we start putting in the walls and the windows and the doors. So I am going to go into custom libraries to show you the library that I use for that. But if you don't have the bioterrain panel, or you're using the trial and you don't have any panels as of yet, the best way to work with to prime your body is to add all the items from the biofield and then add your minerals, amino acids, and vitamins into the main hold tray. I am going to go to the custom libraries. And hit begin analysis. Sorry, it takes a few minutes. I have a lot of libraries in here. Okay, so in the center, you can see this little pull down. This is going to bring an advanced search. So it's a really awesome way to find different items in the libraries. I'm going to hit the magnifying glass and enter in biotrain. That is the panel. It's about 37 different libraries in the biotrain, and one of the packages, if you decide on purchasing that, these are the different panels that are included. So one of the reasons why I want to show it to you so that you know what you are getting. The one that I want to work with is the one that says begin. And this is the vessel priming frequencies here. Now, a shortcut is you can click right on the library title name, and you can see it highlighted, and we drop it down. And it has added all 166 items plus the library title into the main hold tray. And I've added them all in because they're all really important. So when the main hold tray, which I'm going to show you now, when you hit the play button, it brings you to this next screen called Progressive Insights. When we hit begin analysis, this is when the genius is going to use the algorithm to look at the relationship between all the items. So if I only selected the reds and the blues, maybe I wouldn't be getting all the ones that you need to work with. Okay, so I'm going to move the timer to 1 minute, and then I'm just going to select all, and I'm going to run all 166 items for you for 1 minute. Okay, excellent. So you can see on the bottom, it says average percent rectification is 49%. That is the average of the 3 percentages just above it. And 49, anything above 40% is considered excellent, and anything between 20 and 40% is considered a good rectification. I do like to point out that me personally, from my observation, the energy flow, here we see the lowest percentage is 40% and the highest is 55. I don't like that range to be greater than 20. I just find that the percent rectification becomes a little less stable, because the bigger that range, any frequency that maybe in your field can throw everything back out of alignment again, or back out of balance again. So, but for you in this case, it was within 15, so that's great. It's 49%. What I would do here is then go to the top right. It says rescan, and the genius will then run its algorithms, and it will be a probability of it will reorder the highs, mediums, and lows based on the fact that the probability is that 49% of the 166 have already balanced or harmonized. So I'm just going to deselect all the items and I will select the lows and the highs. And I'm going to move the timer to 0 minutes. Now, moving the timer to 0 minutes gives you the ability to do two things. Number one, you can run the Genius for any amount of time that you want. It's kind of like putting it on manual, and it will run for up to 8 hours unless you stop it yourself by touching the screen. So it is a nice feature. I don't normally recommend running it for 8 hours, but there are times like when you have a really fresh injury or you just became sick where you may want to run it for longer periods of time. Otherwise, short spurts seem to work really well with the body, just kind of poking it and waking it up to the frequencies that are coming in. If you have the timer on 1 minute up to 30 minutes, if you were to stop it before it stops itself automatically, it will not calculate an average percent rectification. So should that happen to you, that's why, and you'll have to just run it again. So I'm just going to run the lows and the highs right now for 30 seconds. So this is also wonderful. Again, 45% average rectification, and between the low and the high, you're within that 20% range. So that's really great. I'm happy with that. I would move on to my step 2 now after that. So my step 2, well, first I want to empty out the main hold tray. So I'm just going to, you can just hit clear all and then close it. My step 2 is working with the general overview, and you get to the general overview by clicking on system overview up at the top. And what the general overview does is it takes all the items that are in the Genius, whether it's from the system overview page or from your custom libraries, and it puts the individual line items all in chronological order. So this is really amazing, because now you can see all your highs all the way down to your lows in one page, sort of. Although I have so many libraries, this is several, and I wouldn't be able to, we'd be here all day if I was scrolling. But what it does give you the opportunity to do is work with the reds and the blues that are most important and can potentially be the underlying cause for a lot of the symptoms that you currently have that you may not have thought to consider. So I like to look at it from lowest to highest. So up top, I can just click this purple little button where it says 0 to 100. And now I see the ones that are chronically out of balance. So since, like I said, I have so many, I'm just going to click on the crosshairs down here and add the bottom 50. And I am also going to add the top 50, which are the top 50 red. And now I can remove the libraries, which allows me to see everything that's on the system overview page. Now, just looking at this quickly, we're seeing a lot of your meridians have been chronically out of balance. So we see your liver, large intestine, kidney, bladder, spleen, some spiritual protection, but a lot of stuff going on here in your biofield. I am going to add all the blues. And I'm also going to add all the reds. I generally like to work, I don't like to work with more than 200, 250 items. But given that this is a demo, and we're pressed for some time, I'm going to have all the reds and blues in here. But at home, or when you're working on this on yourself, you may want to separate and just work with your blues first and then work with your reds. So that's something, you can work with that, how it works best for you. So I'm just going to hit the play button here, and we're going to run a analysis. And again, I'm going to put the timer on 1 minute and select all. Excellent. So again, it's a 45% rectification, and this is really tight too. It's between 41 and 50%. So that's really great. What I would do now is deselect all of them. I would rescan this. And then I would just select the lows and the highs and run them for 30 seconds. Again, excellent. Your highs and your lows, your average percent rectification was at 49%, and both energy flow and alignment are at 53 and harmony 41. So you're doing really great here. I always like to stop right after step 2 and have my client check in and see how they're feeling. A lot of times there is improvement in some of the symptoms that they were experiencing just after those 2 steps alone. So I don't know if you're going to notice if anything on your arms or knees are feeling better, but maybe. So, I mean, I don't know if you can see on your arms if there, or if you feel any different.
Let's see here. Well, I got some stuff on it. No, but I can tell you one thing. There's a noticeable calming and clearing effect that I can each time. It's like I don't even realize that I'm receiving a treatment. Then all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, I'm receiving a treatment, and then I feel the treatment.
Amazing, amazing. So great. And again, I don't know if there's any what it feels like on your legs, if it has a sensation, if you can feel.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd have to physically look. Let me take a look. Let's see here. I'll be right back. Hang on.
Sure.
Wait on next time. Nothing noticeable.
Okay, that's okay, but you are still seeing some positive effects just after those 2 steps, so that's always important. So now my third step is working with the symptoms that we talked about. So the first thing I will do again is clear this main hold tray. And then I am going to add in digestion. And so I'm just going to drag the title here. It will bring all the, if you look at the different, items that are in digestion, I'm going to add all of them. And I am also going to work a little bit with the emotions, just from my experience. Psoriasis has a big emotional charge to it. So I would recommend you work with the emotions a lot, in regards to that. And I would work with, also spiritual protection a lot for, that. Also, anything with the skin or rashes could have to do a lot with your liver, as it could be a form of things trying to detox through your body. So those are just a few things I'm going to start looking at right away with you. So I'm going to add in the blues, the greens, and the reds in here. And I'm adding a lot of them just because I know how important the emotions are towards psoriasis. So that's a big element in here. I'm also going to add in the blue Bach flower essences, and we can look at the spiritual protection. So the spiritual protection doesn't look so bad actually, but I'm going to add it all in anyway. And now we can go to the custom libraries. So the first thing I'm going to look at, and this is just, I don't know, I'm just kind of hearing this one. Whoops. Archangels. So I'm just going to bring in some of the archangels here for you. And okay, and then do the rashes, does the psoriasis, is there pain involved with that, or the ring one?
No, there's no pain.
Do they itch?
No, no itching. They're just some. It's more their color. It's color, reddish color.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the elbows, it goes through a process. It will flake, and then I have to scratch the flakes off. And if I use psoriasis gel, which is a coal-based tar, over the counter thing, that does definitely keep it at bay, so to speak. But it still goes through a cycle, and then it's calm for a while, and then it reappears. It goes to a growth cycle. My understanding, it's a overproduction of epithelial cells. So it does seem to follow that pattern.
Okay.
And then,
I'm looking at the bioterrain. I'm just gonna tap into some of these that are in here that are showing up. I'm gonna look at the biofilm in here, and I'm gonna add all of them. And I'm also gonna look at the digestive enzymes, the digestion statements, and the enzymes. So let's look at these that are showing up with your blues. And I'm trusting in the genius, so I'm not looking through all the items. I know sometimes it gets interesting to see and what shows up. Right now, I'm just going into the library panels and trusting in what the genius will bring up. Also for time concerns, it will slow the process down to start reading through all of these. But so I did add some of the stuff in the bioterrain, And we can also look at your liver. And let's just see here. Oh, that was the same one I just ended. And the other thing I am going to look at, even though you're not saying you have pain, I am just going to go to the pain panel here. And I'm just going to add in the blues and the reds because often skin conditions can create a pain of a sort. The other thing I'm just going to go to is, I'm going to go to veins, but I'm going to add in the bone marrow part of this, the blue and green items that are in here, since that showed really low. And then I'm just going to go to veins and see if we can help the legs with some of that. Okay, so I've added all those things that kind of relate to your knees, the ring, and your legs. And let's see. So again, I'm going to add the timer to 1 minute to start. I'm going to select all and hit play. Okay, so the average percent rectification is 32%. That's still a good rectification, and the low to high is still within that range. I would like to see that a little higher, so I'm just going to work with the highs and the lows now for about 30 seconds. So I'm going to deselect the mediums. So you can see that it deselected the mediums, and now we just have the highs and the lows. And I'm going to run that for 30 seconds and see if we can bring that rectification up. Okay, so we're at 40%. It did go up a little bit. And you are still within that range of 20. So that's great. I am going to just work with the lows now for 30 seconds and see if we can still get this up a little higher for you. that's at 35. It's still good. I am going to now just do the same thing for the highs. Okay, so it's at 35% again, and it is a little bit higher. That range is a little bit higher than that 20% because it goes from 20 to 46%. I'm just going to select all of them and just run it for about 5 seconds and just see if we can get this up a little bit higher. So we're still at 36%, but we are within range for that, within that 20%. So I'm happy with that. If we weren't in a demo, I may run this a little bit longer. How are you feeling?
I feel nice, calm and cool, calm and collective.
Great. That's what we like to see. So let's go and see your aura. We did work with a lot of frequencies. So we may have stirred the nest a little bit here. So hopefully your aura will look better Okay, so this does look much better to me. I don't know how you feel about how it, but just intuitively, how it looks to you. It does look brighter. This green in here is that neon green we like to see. The physical part, I would like to see that a little better, but overall, to me, this looks more, you're more integrated here. You can see there's more blues kind of alternating. It looks healthier than the other one looked. When
And
we
it,
switch,
and it looks like a spring flower to me.
well, good, good. I mean, it's still blur. You still see that blurriness in there, but it does look better to me
Oh,
than.
interestingly enough to say, my vision for clarity has improved. I was having a difficult time seeing words clear before, and now it's clear. So just a little comment.
Oh, amazing. Wow, that was a good little bonus that we weren't planning on. Fantastic. That's really great. And here is the old version. This doesn't look as good to me as the other one. That's okay. It's still showing you to be mostly grounded, maybe a little slightly ungrounded. You know, again, there's a lot of energies moving around, and whenever we look at these auras, it's a snapshot. So I'm not really going to be too concerned. And the most important thing is that you are feeling physical improvement. So that is amazing. So really, really happy with that. Do you have any questions, or does anybody else have any questions before?
Well, I'd like to say thank you so much for this opportunity to receive this wonderful treatment.
You're
Um, and as time goes on, I'm at an age where I'll be greatly reducing my work as a massage therapist. But from my wonderful friend Anana, who has recommended me to this program, I intend on becoming a practitioner with with you guys. So it's wonderful to be introduced. Like anything else, if you're introduced to the right way in the beginning, you don't set up bad habits. So thank you so much for everything.
Oh, you're so welcome. And you can any questions you have, you can ask through me or through Inanna. And also this would blend really well with your massage practice just using, if you want to work with the, you know, human body and you're using muscles and ligaments and things like that, when you're removing all the imbalance of the energies from the specific muscles or ligaments, it would probably add a huge upgrade to your practice. So it was great to see you here. And anybody else have any questions before we go? No more questions? It was so good to see everybody, and I look forward to seeing you next Thursday. And Claire, thank you also for answering any of the questions that were popping up in the chat room. And for everybody else, thank you again so much for being here, and we will see you next week. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Cheerio.